Hi, my name is Claus. I'm soon to teach a pulse seminar in the White Pine Circle. It will be structured as 3 times 3 hours of theory, and then afterwards there will be a hands-on workshop 3 days. So the theory part will lead up to the hands-on workshop, and the main aspect in the hands-on workshop is actually to spend time together on patient pulses and also each other's pulses. So we really get a good grasp of the most common pulse qualities when we do pulse qualities. I'm an instructor in the Shin-Hammer pulse system, and there are aspects in the Shin-Hammer pulse systems that are slightly different from other pulse systems, but the qualities and how we pick them up and how we describe them in terms of sensation is very close to most other pulse systems. After all, it's the same kind of patients we are seeing. So a slippery quality is a slippery quality more or less regardless of pulse system, as far as I'm aware. So one of the great things about the Shin-Hammer pulse system is that we have what we call the entire pulse. And the entire pulse is a reflection of our overall being. So big things are big. So instead of diving straight into minute details, palpating the individual positions, we start with palpating what we refer to as the entire pulse. So it's like looking at a football team. We want to focus on how is the football team playing overall. And then afterwards, we can then choose to look at the individual players and their contribution to the overall performance. But after all, it's a kind of a team sport. So sometimes one player is a bit better than he normally is, or she normally is, and then someone is less good. But the overall performance of the team, that's the most important part. So when we use the term entire pulse, is actually when we use 3 fingers as one unit and put that directly on the pulse. So imagine this is my wrist. Don't imagine, this is my wrist. So we put our index finger next to the scaphoid bone, and then we use 3 fingers as one unit and put it directly on top of the entire portion of the radial artery. And we take into account the height of the person. So imagine I'm approximately 170 centimeters tall. So this approximately would be 170 reflected on my wrist. And if I then palpate a person that are 2 meters high, I would have to spread out my fingers to cover kind of 2 meters on the wrist. It's more or less the same as the Chun system, right? So we have 12 Chun from wrist to elbow, and on a baby this is 12 Chun, and on a very tall person this is 12 Chun, right? So it's the same system. We need to be able to palpate the entire organism, and we have to spread out fingers or put the fingers together according to the patient height. So when we use the 3 fingers, of course, it's important that when we enter onto the wrist and onto the artery, that we give an even pressure with all 3 fingers. That takes a little practice, but there will be plenty of time in the hands-on workshop to actually practice this approach. And then what's reflected on the right side and what's reflected on the left side. Imagine we superimpose the yin-yang symbol directly onto the pulse. And then the right side, that's about how we take in life force, and the left side is how after we kind of rebuild ourselves, we express back up and out. So we have a direct reflection of the yin-yang symbol on the pulse, especially when we compare what's happening on the entire right side and compare it with what's happening on the entire left side. That's super interesting, and using that method and looking at the big picture, we more or less have a direct reflection of the 6 movements on the pulse. We do get more information also when we integrate the information from the individual positions, but the main information and the overall picture really sets the scene for what we want to do afterwards. And we might think that this is pulse diagnosis is really weird, and it's really difficult to learn, and I have to learn all these different qualities. But actually, if we get a fairly good grasp of the maybe 10 most common pulse qualities, and that includes the most common pulse waves, we are really good to go. There's so much information we can get from the like 8 to 10 most common qualities if we manage to pick that up on the pulse. So in the theory part, we will discuss how the six movements, the 6 sweeping motions, the Liu Jing manifest on the pulse, and we will also discuss the pulse qualities we most commonly find on the wrist. And then we will put together a picture there. And then when we meet in person for the hands-on part, we will focus on palpating and picking up the pulse qualities. There will be a lot of practical exercises where we sit together, palpating one wrist on the same patient or person and participant, and then we will slowly and together palpate and calibrate the depth on the pulse, and also how the different qualities are actually picked up. So this hands-on part with direct supervision, that's super essential for picking up qualities and getting to learn the qualities. So you kind of have the sensation, now I actually own this pulse quality. That's super important. So I really hope you can join us for this really interesting pulse seminar within the White Pine Circle. So please come and join.